morning.
Morning.
My name is Derek Lee. This is my wife, Stacy. We've been married for 24 years. So.
Trek on.
I am the fourth generation owner of Lee Plumbing and Heating. Like Angie said, we took over 4 years ago from my father. There was kind of a quick transition. It was him deciding that he wanted to retire. So my great-grandfather started the business in 1905. My grandfather took over back in the 30s, I believe. He was given 2 weeks to say, you can see the world, and then it's time to come back and go to work. When I was born, we were in Moorhead, and my dad went to work for an accounting firm, and then eventually in 1979 he came back to work for my grandfather, and then eventually bought the business. So after college, Stacy and I got married, and then I spent 9 years down in the Twin Cities working for a plumbing wholesaler. During that time, I worked in the showroom for plumbing fixtures. Then I went to inside sales, so I kind of learned. It was a good learning experience for me, but I also had some backgrounds that I knew being in the plumbing field. When somebody would call in to me, I would kind of question, what are you doing? You know, I kind of had an idea what they were trying to do, and so that helped me for that part of it. Then eventually I moved into a branch manager in Burnsville, and I was in there for a few years. And then the last year working there, I was in a builder sales manager. So my job was to go out and to talk to actual contractors, builders, and I'm a plumber at heart, so it didn't really fit me, and I didn't really like that part of it. So it was doing fine, but it was about that time when our kids were starting to get older, and it was time to come home. So we moved back to Thief River. Stacy's from Detroit Lakes, so I had a lot of questions. Well, how can you move that far north? And I said, well, that's where I'm from. That's where I was born and not born, but I was raised in Thief River, so to me it was coming home. And then also all 4 traffic stoplights, and it takes me 10 minutes to get to work for an hour. That was a big change. So we've been home for 15 years now, but I was never pressured to come home. It's just something that I always liked to do, and decided it was time to do it. Stacy, when we first came home, my mom was doing the books, and she said, I'll never work for the company because I don't want to take over for your mom. And
here I am. I since realized I was a computer programmer in the cities for about 8 years, and then decided that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So I was home with the kids, and when we moved back, I was still home with the kids. But then as they started getting into school, and the last one, I realized I kind of liked the flexibility and the ability to set my own hours, and I could do that at Lee Plumbing, so.
Part of what we do is we offer plumbing and heating work, anything plumbing related. We have 2 guys on service, so 2 guys we have an office manager that basically handles the phone calls, and then 2 service guys that will do the dripping faucets to the fixing your furnace to your boiler to whatever. So 2 guys that mainly focus on that. We work from smaller remodels to big commercial jobs. This summer we just finished Boston School. They had 2 projects there. There was the elementary school and the high school, so we worked doing both those jobs. We've done hospitals and schools, and you name it, we've done it. Kind of the point, and I kind of think that my dad was that way too, that we'll do anything. So whatever it takes, we'll take care of it. We range employees from 11 to 15 full-time employees, including the 2 of us and our office manager. So we've got 9, 10, 12 people out in the field. Right now we have 9 out in the field that are full-time. We have a 21-year-old son that works in the summer, and he's learning the process. Not quite sure what his future plans are, but like, I was never pressured. I don't want to pressure him into coming back, but I think he enjoys it. I can see it. So maybe a 5th generation, so we'll see. My job duties include anywhere from estimating, from a small job, replacing a furnace or a boiler or a bathroom, or trying to find the big jobs. I also, once we get those jobs, I'm the project manager, so I have to order, coordinate, do all the work that entails in that part of it. Also the HR part of it. Stacy does some of that stuff, and I do some of the stuff. It's the part that don't really enjoy, but have to be done. Also take care of the marketing, which that's not, I don't really care for it, but like Terry and Tammy said, the social media part, I have done a little bit of it, but I don't really have the time to take care of that part of it. So we do a lot more radio advertising and TV advertising and things like that. Anything to add there? No. Okay.
My job duties are, I do the payroll, I do all the accounts receivable and billing, and then I take care of all of the accounts payable and getting our bills paid as well as some of the bigger jobs that we do require labor reports to the state, and so I take on those as well.
One thing that I remember growing up is that one of my first early jobs is I would deliver the bills to the customers. When we have a bill for Pennington, Maine, Pennington Square, I would take the check in an envelope and then deliver it to the different places. I'd go to the radio station, I'd bring it to the different places whenever we buy parts, whatever. But my wage was, I got whatever the postage rate was. And my dad and my aunt also remember doing that, so it was 9 cents or up to 22 cents. It was big money then. So that was kind of my first job, which is kind of getting you into the line of work and figuring out what we do. One thing that I've learned over time from my grandfather, when I was in high school, my grandpa was always around. Labor was cheap then. Now labor's the expensive part. Material was the expensive part then. Now it's the material that's the cheap part. I've got one of my main foremen realizes that $500 of parts doesn't mean anything when it costs you hours and hours of manpower to do something, and if he can kind of cut corners. And then also some of the things that have changed is the technology and the tools. Going from copper sweat fittings to a press fitting, so you have a special tool. The tools cost a lot more money, but you have a press fitting that has an O-ring in it, and you press it and it's done in seconds rather than sweating a fitting. Then it's changed into PEX fittings, plastic fittings for water lines. I remember my grandpa telling stories about digging ditches, and it was the workers got paid by the linear foot, and they got to one job, and it was hard digging, and he said he'd pay them 5 cents more a foot. So instead of going, they only had to dig 6 feet deep to stay out of the frost. So they were getting paid 20 cents, whatever it was, to get a foot, and they needed more money, because so we gave them a penny or two more raise, and they were happy as a lark. So so things have changed a little bit for that part. One thing that he taught me is that the customer's always right to some extent. We do get complaints on how long it takes us to do something, and I always try to take both sides of it. Generally, I'll listen to the customer side of it, but I also will generally take the side of my guys But then what I've learned is that if you can negotiate with the customer, that if you ask what's fair to them, they'll usually come back with something that's not what you're thinking, and then you also hook them for the future. So the return business that way is what he taught me, is that it always comes back. If you completely make somebody mad, they'll never see him again. So that's what I've learned. Also get a lot of calls that, oh, that's an easy job, that'll only take an hour. Well, sure it does. But I don't think everybody understands what we really need to do to make sure the job is done correctly. So, I guess I like the opportunity, and I'm a big supporter of Thief River and the buy local advertisements. I'm a very big supporter of Thief River and what we can do for the community. I get upset when I don't get an opportunity to bid on something, just because of what we try to do to support the city. I just want an opportunity to bid on some things if I can. So if I lose it, I lose it. But if I don't ever have an opportunity, then that's where I get a little upset. But I guess I just work hard and whatever, make the business successful. I know we've been 4th generation. I think that has helped on some parts, is that our reputation has been out there for 100+ years. So that's a good thing, but we also need to change and continue to evolve.
So to me, I think when you're starting as an entrepreneur, especially when you had like a good job before, that's the scariest, is to go for that jump. Do you think that having that family base really helped with that, or do you think was it still something that was really scary to do?
Yeah, I guess when I was working for the plumbing wholesaler, I was real honest with them that I knew that I wasn't going to be there forever. It ended up to be 9 years, but I also kind of spoke my mind, so that if I needed to say something, that I always had something to fall back to, but it was also a good thing. So it was nice to have that family background.
And when I was thinking about it, I don't have any family entrepreneurial history, but in addition to Derek's one side of his family, the other side also was in business in Thief River for many years with the Narberg Cleaners. So
And Model Laundry.
right. So for him, it wasn't just on one side. It was his whole entire family was very dedicated to business in Thief River Falls, and that was quite eye-opening to me, having not come from that kind of a family. So
I have a question. You guys have a lot of employees, so are you finding it harder to find good employees? Like, I know I'm sure you know who my dad is, but he always said that it was tough because you don't want to do hard labor anymore.
Right.
And plumbing is hard labor.
Right.
I mean, it's difficult work. Are you finding it difficult to find people that are still the younger kids trying to come up? Are there some of that still, or
Yeah,
is it?
My daughter was a 6th grader last year, so I had to present for her. So I asked all the 6th graders, I said, what do you think about when you go into plumbing? Well, it's all dirty work. Well, no, it's not really all dirty work. Some things are dirty. I've got one guy that just relishes cleaning sewers. I keep telling him, I know it's not fun work. I said, if you want to get out of the business, we'll do it. And they said, no, it's fun. One guy really likes doing it. Don't quite understand it, but he loves it. So. But it's not all dirty work. When you go into a new house or a new school, it's not clean conditions, but it's a construction site, so it's not all messy. The heating side of it, there's a lot of technology out there. It's the wireless thermostats, and it's finding them on your phone, and it's the technology of what a furnace and a boiler can do versus all the controls and letting everybody else take care of that for us. Now we can do a lot of that too, and a boiler will do multiple different zones, and you can do things with your house, and that's the fun part about it. the skilled labor part of it is hard. I think our school, getting the building trades program has helped some. I have 2 guys that have come from there, or have a little bit of that background, so it's been nice. When our oldest was getting into 9th grade, it was all push, gotta go to college, gotta go to college. Well, it's not for everybody, so we need to find those kids in the school, male or female, that they don't wanna go to college, but they're really good with their hands, and that's the part that we need to find and somehow attract those people to Thief River. But it's been, the hardest part is finding skilled labor, reliable, and wanting to move to Thief River. And I guess if we can take our own, that's the good part. They know what we're like.
I was gonna comment that the forever stamp must have really limited your potential for growth in your first role with the company, but I was gonna ask you, you touched on the controls part of things. You guys take care of all the controls on bigger boiler systems and hydrostatics?
Yeah, so if there isn't, I've got subcontractors that I can get to, but a lot of the, and not a huge school project, that part we'd have to have it subbed out, but there's a lot of other parts that, yeah, we can take care of it. If it's a new building with 6 different rooms or zones, yeah, we can take care of that part, so it's, yeah.
Just a note on, he talked about two of our current guys in the high school. They actually worked as a intern with us during high school. So it was a class that they came to us and worked some of their time during the day of their high school hours and got started. And then once they finished with high school, they continued with us. So those are things that we think are gonna be something that keeps those trades going. And I know Derek told them when they came to work for us that you don't necessarily have to think you're gonna be a plumber, but if you can at least see that a trade, whatever it may be, is what you like to do, then that's what he wanted to encourage, is, you know, any trade out there, but just to show them that plumbing is there and what they can do. That's been a good fit for us and to working with the high school on that.
I actually have a 2-part question. You spoke about a lot of things that changed in the last 100 years that your family's been in business. What do you foresee being the biggest changes moving forward in your industry? And the second part would be, I know you said you kind of will do any job, but do you have like an ideal target market or an ideal client that you try to cater to the most?
I think
or you would like to, if you could do every job, it was just that kind of job?
technology, I think, is gonna improve more than what it already is. The things that we're just kind of getting into now, when we run gas lines, it always used to be cut a piece of pipe, thread it, put it together. Now there's another press fitting for it that we've done a few jobs lately, and I've kind of dabbled in it a little bit, where it's a quick fix where you can cut a T in and you don't have to cut both sides of it, thread it. You cut this press T in it and then go on from there. So that's new technology that's come out that is making the job easier. Getting back to Angie's, it's that skilled labor part of it. We've kind of dummied the industry. I mean, a lot of people can do it because the technology's there to help people. So the schooling isn't quite as necessary, but we'll also teach you what you need to know. So technology, I think, is gonna continue to improve. Ideal job, I don't really, I'm not quite sure how to, plumbing and heating related, there's, I guess, time-wise, that's always what I look at, what we can take. Right now, we're taking any job from Highway 2 North. Right now, we're backed up because we're so busy. And I feel guilty because we can't get to somebody right away. And our our service board is overflowing because finding the skilled people, and I was asked by one of the service guys, well, we need to hire somebody. Well, they're not just readily available to somebody that knows what they're doing to hire them right off the street, so it takes time to build that. Ideal job, I'm not quite sure if there really is an ideal job.
In regards to your labor, I know you do a lot of HR and you've spoken on recruiting with the high school and that type of thing, but as far as wages go, what's the magic number, do you think, right now? I mean, it's probably different with plumbing as it would be for our business, but when you try to find employees, is there a magic number that people seem to want to be employed at, or?
Usually I'll kind of factor in their age and what their experience is. DigiKey's been a good thing and a bad thing. We've upped our wages, we've upped our benefits because of what DigiKey offers, so that for one, we don't lose them to them, but then also we making our community better. So it's also helped maybe draw people in. Those younger guys in that higher than minimum wage, but in that 12 to 15 range, that kind of a starting wage, and then evaluating them from there. I've got guys that probably make more money than I do because of, or an hourly wage compared to what I do, just because they've been there for 25, 30 years. I've got one guy that's semi-retired that he makes pretty good money because he's also kind of specialized in what he does, so.
Who also has worked for 3 of the 4 generations, which is kind of fun.
You know, I think that's, we have the space now and we have a location and that type of thing, but for us in our business, we really struggle to find people. I mean, on a part-time basis or anything. And if there's anything that's gonna sink us, it's gonna be not having employees.
Right.
Because we can do the work, we can provide a service, but if we don't have people to help us with that service, I mean, there's only so much that her and I can do in our part-time employee. So if anybody's looking for a job.
Part of what I look at is that, usually for me, I get busy from January till springtime when I'm trying to bid on bigger jobs, so I can keep most everybody busy for the summer. And then now when I think it should be slowing down, it's not, hasn't slowed down a little bit. We have enough work for everybody of the 9 guys that are out in the field, but I also don't want to hire too many people so that we're all sweeping floors back in January, February, so that hurts the pocketbook. So it's trying to find that balance. That's where my stress level gets, trying to find the amount of work to get for everybody that we've got.
I have a quick question. How long is the schooling for that trade, for the plumbing?
I've got a couple guys that have gone through a 1-year apprenticeship. To get your journeyman's license, you need 4 years of experience. That 1 year of schooling will account for 1 year of apprenticeship. So you need so many hours that the state will take.
So that probably factors into what you pay your employees too.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So is it school or apprentice? Or do
You
you have to do the school?
No, you don't have to. When they're in the field working for me, then I report their hours and that goes towards their amount of hours that they get.
And then there's tests in order
To get your
those
journeyman's
licenses.
license, you have to take a test. But you need the experience